7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are sitting here right after the Super Bowl. Same thing we did last year, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, we sat in this studio. Actually, no, we were in the other studio after the Super Bowl. We were in the studio just west of here. Am I correct, or were we in here by then?
I think we were in here by then.
Okay, fair enough. Either way.
Good call, sir.
Last year when we sat in the studio, it was unfortunately a negative vibe because the Eagles had defeated the New England Patriots. But it's a different story this year around. It's 13-3 New England Patriots. They win their 6th Super Bowl, and they have rewritten history. They are tied now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tom Brady now has taken over by himself as the player with the most Super Bowl rings. Does anybody know who he was tied with before today?
Saw the name earlier, but I can't remember what it was.
Was it Haley?
Yep, Charles Haley. Charles Haley. I lost my train of thought there for a second.
Yeah, that's
They're very comparable players, so I get it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they look alike. So.
Yes.
Nevertheless, 13-3. New England is Super Bowl champions. Cover is 2.5-point dogs. And like Tony Johnson said, and Spike, too. Spike picked it as well. The under was really never in doubt. You got a full studio here. Spike on mic 1, Token Tony on mic 2, and Tony Johnson on mic 3. Just go around the room. Initial reactions to this. We all know how Redbeard here is going to go. I mean, this is not... I know you had the under, I know you had the Pats, but I can't imagine this is how you saw it going.
Actually, this is pretty close to how I saw it going. I thought
13-3?
I thought it would be higher scoring, but if you remember at the end of our podcast last week when we tried to predict the final score, I had 24-20. So I thought there would be more scoring, but I knew it was going to be a ground game. I knew it was going to be a grind. I knew that the lines on both sides of the ball for both teams were going to be the factors in this game. And it was how they were able to control the pace, how they were able to control what the quarterbacks were able to do, and how they were able to control what the offensive coordinators wanted to do. And that's exactly what happened in this game. Granted, like I said, obviously lower scoring than I expected, but I still had the under, and I had the even teased it lower on a prop bet and made some money on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, not only that, both lines for both teams, I would say overall, played pretty well in this game. I understand the stats don't necessarily show that the discrepancy between rushing yards with New England and Los Angeles are obviously very wide. But, I mean, Jared Goff, a couple of sacks. But, I mean, I'd say for the all in all, I mean, the line kept him protected. The line obviously kept Tom Brady protected, 1 sack for 9 yards. But the two defensive lines here, Aaron Donald, when we talked about potentially an MVP, really wasn't a factor, and it just kind of they were good. All the 4 lines were good, but nobody was really great, and that's kind of the epitome of this whole entire Super Bowl token.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking that the offensive lines weren't being able to contain the offenses and set the rhythm, moving the ball forward as well as moving chains and actually getting even to the red zone. I mean, there was only 1 play in the red zone.
Yeah, how crazy was that? 1 red zone play in the entire Super Bowl, and it was Sony Michel's touchdown run.
Yeah, for 2 yards, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, Tony, for a game that had 1 red zone play and little scoring action, this game was still exciting and intense in a boring way. I know that's kind of a stupid thing to say, but maybe that's just my personal investment, but the game seemed exciting for me.
I think it was a football investment, too. I think a lot of the people that are just watching this game to watch or to be a part of the entertainment probably didn't enjoy it very much, but people that are actually fans of football and maybe isolated certain players in certain spots and saw what happened, and I'm not the biggest fan, I'll admit, of Julian Edelman in general, but some of the routes that he ran and the way he was able to get open some certain spots was utterly unbelievable in this game. So, again, I'm not like trying to say someone should be an MVP of the game or not. It doesn't really matter to me. But if you look at the game, and I know Token and I had a couple of comments to each other as the game went on, where we were really, really kind of awesomely excited about some of the plays that happened that won't necessarily be fodder, at the water cooler the next day, but they are really great football plays. And I think it was kind of a fun game to watch if you're a pure football fan.
Well, would you two care to share those plays?
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, no, there were a few. I mean, we talked about a couple of the some unheralded punters that usually aren't necessarily.
Hey, punters
in
make
the
this
discussion.
podcast.
They certainly made the podcast, and they not only just to say it they made the podcast and it's funny, but they certainly deserve to make the podcast. Both punters were fantastic. I mean, Allen and Hecker. Both essentially were able to
14 punts.
Yeah, when they had a chance to pin the team inside not only the 20-yard line, not only the 10-yard line, but within the 5-yard line on multiple occasions were able to do so.
Field position turned out to be huge.
It was enormous. It really was.
Especially with these offenses who couldn't really get anything
And
going.
Hecker's 65-yard long punt, that was pretty incredible.
There were
the
amazing punts.
I think one of the guys at the party we were at basically said he's like, New England's going to score here unless he boots it 65, 70 yards, and goddamn it, he did.
Yep.
He did.
Yeah, 8 out of the 14 punts were inside the 20, and you're right. I don't know how many of those 8 finished inside like the 8 or
I would say probably 3 or if not a little more.
A couple of those were really good. And the crazy thing is, a couple of those you saw some of the defenders down at the down by the end zone could have let it bounce or roll one more time and got it even closer. The way that those punts bounced up or bounced back. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're not going to spend too much time on punting, but you're right. That was pretty crucial. Spike, what about this game stood out to you? Because like I said, there's not a lot to stand out. It's those little things like Tony said, football plays that really stood out to a lot of people who like football. If you're a casual football fan, if you have no money on the game, you're like, this was such a boring Super Bowl. But in the end, most football fans would say it really wasn't.
Oh yeah, no, and this was a defensive fan's dream, and that I prefer the defensive side of the ball, as evidenced by my Teddy Bruschi jersey that I'm wearing right now. But I think for me it was the lack of big plays, and that was in part due to scheme, in part due to the way the defense was playing, and in part to the quarterbacks making mistakes. I think all three of those things really factored in that we didn't see Jared Goff hitting Brandon Cooks for the 70-yard reception that we could have seen. We didn't see Todd Gurley bust a run for 45, 50 yards at a clip.
Yep.
So I think these were the types of plays that both coaches were able to contain that really kept the game in check, kept the balance going, and was really setting the tone to make this a 16-point total game.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. Like, you look at Jared Goff. Again, I was at a party. Most of us were at a party. It's hard to really watch the game when you've got a lot of distractions going on. But to me, I wouldn't say Jared Goff looked nervous, scared, unable to perform the task. I think that defense really just kind of came out and shut down Los Angeles. To me, I know that you might think it goes hand in hand. To me, it doesn't. I mean, I think Jared Goff played a pretty decent game.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he 19 of 38, so 50% passing, which that's fair. 229.
In a game like this, it's not bad.
Yeah, in a game like this, it's not bad. Obviously, no touchdowns. He did have the one pick, but he had pressure up the middle. He was getting, I think, Hightower directly in his face as he threw the ball. And
their stunts, the New England defensive stunts, were fantastic.
Oh, it was unbelievable how well they played. But of those 229, 120 went to Brandon Cooks. If the Rams win this game, Cooks is the MVP instead of Edelman.
It's true. Yeah, I think I would totally agree with that. And at the same time, I mean, you guys over here, you're not Patriots fans, but we've heard this same narrative. Obviously, they finished 11-5 this year. Their road record was atrocious at 3-5. But we keep hearing this. This is not the New England Patriots teams that we're expecting or used to winning Super Bowls. Good running game, solid receivers. Brady was a good enough quarterback, great defense. Why is it only because of Tom Brady that people have made that narrative up?
No, I think a lot has to do with the coaching staff, too.
But I mean, the coaching staff. I mean, okay, the coaching staffs before with defensive coordinator was Romeo Crennel in the earlier part of the dynasty. Offensive was Charlie Weiss. I mean, now you got Flores and Josh McDaniels, Spike's sweetheart. But regardless of what you think about the coordinators, I'm just saying, like, to me, I don't know. Obviously, they're not 14-2, 12-4, 13-3, but this defense or this team did perform admirably in aspects that aren't number 12. So, to me, the narrative of this team is not a typical Patriots dynasty team, I think is kind of bullshit. I think Tom Brady at the helm is not a typical Tom Brady that we expected from the other 5 Super Bowls, but I don't agree with the rest of this narrative that people are saying. I mean, Sony Michel's a pretty damn competent running back.
Yeah, I'd give much more credit for this specific Super Bowl and this specific game to Sony Michel versus Tom Brady. I thought Tom, for the most part, looked
He looked bad.
hesitant,
Yeah.
and he looked like he was not confident in the routes that maybe were going to be run by receivers. He didn't let the ball go.
So that fourth quarter, he did not look good.
Yeah, the fourth quarter he was certainly a bit better, and I will say this as well. I know you guys have talked sort of okay things about Jared Goff. I thought Jared Goff played extremely scared. They played very scared. I thought he held the ball forever in many, many spots. Sometimes it didn't hurt him, and other times it did. And the times that it did, he took some sacks. He took, a total of 4 sacks for the game.
Mm-hmm.
2, in my opinion, were major. One took them out of field goal range at one point, and the other one on
The Kyle Van Noy sack on third down.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Another on 2nd and short. I believe it was 2nd and 4. They ended up at 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 13. This was relatively early in the game in the second quarter. I thought those were 2 enormous sacks, and it was just because, in my opinion, Jared did not have the confidence to be able to throw the ball where it was. He did not find Cooks in the end zone in the third quarter when he should have, when he was open for about
2
3 or 4
seconds
seconds.
early he was in.
Exactly.
Right.
So I really think, and this is about the only thing I disagree with that anybody's said so far, is that I thought Jared Goff had an unbelievably awful Super Bowl. I thought he was extremely miserable in many aspects. I think he was the worst player on the field that I saw, or at least I looked at closely, by a pretty good long shot. And I think he was one of the major reasons why LA wasn't able to get to the threshold. And while Brady wasn't obscenely awful, I don't think he had nearly as good of a game as he usually would. But
I guess with Goff having such a putrid game, he didn't have to, so that's kind of a good thing.
That's my point, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's fair enough. I mean, all right, so let's switch from Goff, who, okay, I'll eat crow. He probably played a lot worse than I'm giving him credit for. I mean, all year we've heard about this. I mean, this is a team that scored 54 points against the Chiefs. Again, a different defense, but this is a team obviously capable of lighting it up. 3 points in the Super Bowl?
Yeah. I mean, if you score 3 points, chances are you're not going to win the game. Chances are you're not even going to keep it close. But they were able to keep it close in this one somehow. And I thought one of the reasons as well that they weren't being able to keep it marginally close was Todd Gurley. I don't think he was able to break through that offensive line. I think that's one of the key things about this LA Rams team is they got to work on their offensive line as well as opening up some cap space so they can get some.
Well, their offensive line actually for most of the year was actually one of the stronger points. They're a little older, but yes, I mean, you got to imagine Todd Gurley was more hurt than they let on because guy just signed a massive deal. Why are you not shouldering the load with the guy, your guy who's making all the money? It's not like a situation where he's in a contract spot where you're trying to keep his numbers down. There's nothing that points to anything but an injury that they were just trying not to lay down. I mean, Sean McVay even came out and said Todd Gurley will be the focal point of this offense. That was clearly either taken away by Bill Belichick or that was a lie. Mm-hmm. I choose to believe that was more of a lie. I'm not discrediting Belichick. Obviously, we know he's the master at taking away what you do best. I just feel like the attempt to get him in the offense. I mean, 10 carries in a game where you were close the entire game and 1 target. I don't buy it.
And half of his rushing yards came on 1 play. I mean, 16 yards.
Pretty much, yeah.
35, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And, you talk about the C.J. Anderson factor. He had less carries, 7 for 22. It just seemed like, Sean McVay showed the rookie head coach kind of mentality because you said it, Tony. Jared Goff looked terrible. So why not try to rely more, especially when going into the fourth quarter, you're not out of the game. You're actually tied. Why not try to rely more on the two guys in the backfield that have carried you to this Super Bowl?
Couldn't agree more. He had 6 rushes for 30 yards at one point, and then he finished with 10 rushes for 35. And it was, when he was in the game and he was running well, we saw the line move. We saw him be able to push the pile a little bit, and it was kind of, it had a vintage Todd Gurley, sense to him. Was he 100% at any point? Probably not. I think you're exactly right about that, Aaron. I'm sure there was some lying to the press, and he's not been 100%. He won't be until the next part of the regular season. But certainly, I think that Gurley was not necessarily 100%, but he was probably the best option that they had at that point. And to not go back to him in a very, very close game with only 6 rushes at one point until I believe it was the almost middle part of the fourth quarter when he got 4 rushes on that one drive where they stalled after getting 2 or 3 first downs, I thought was pretty miserable play calling, and I'm a little bit surprised that McVay was not able to find sort of the best option as the game went on. I thought it was pretty obvious who the best option was on that offense, and he didn't keep going back to him. So I'm 100% in agreement with you.
I mean, not only that, they seemed to almost abandon the game plan the Rams did that made them so successful. We talked about, one of the prop bets we talked about was how many people would have a carry on each of these teams, and I thought it would be the under for New England, the over for Los Angeles, and it went completely the opposite direction. I mean, they lined up more in 2 tight end sets. They seemed to try to, they seem to try to abandon exactly what they did in maybe an attempt to say, hey, Bill, you game plan for this, but, we're going to try this. But, Bill Belichick is the master of in-game adjustments. He says, okay, well, we're prepared for everything, so this is what you're going to show? Fine, no problem. But
we got the counter for this, yeah.
Yeah. I guess the question really is after this Rams performance, like, if you're a Saints fan or a Saints player, like, what are you saying right now?
Yeah, you got to.
Hell, I could have done that.
you got to imagine Drew Brees is kicking his TV a couple of times during the Super Bowl, saying, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see something on Barstool Sports about
totally
that.
Agree. Yeah.
Apparently, there was a "fuck the Super Bowl" parade in New Orleans today.
Should be.
Yeah, I mean, again, we had the conversations about the officiating and whether or not we should use the technology in every single aspect. Blah blah blah. We don't need to go into that down again. But you're right. The Saints, they have a beef. They had a beef.
Of course.
So, I mean, obviously it's over now. If the Rams won, what would have been the other kind of conversation in New Orleans, though? Not my champion, hashtag.
That would have been tough because they were certainly outplayed, I think, almost the entirety of this game for the most part. I don't think there's any question that whoever had won or lost this game on the scoreboard, certainly, if, one of those things. If you had Patriots money, what have you would have felt pretty confident from the start to the finish here. I mean, they were. I think if we looked at it statistically, they were certainly the better team, and by the eye test, or at least my own eye test, I can specifically say they were certainly the better team on the field tonight, no doubt.
Yeah, and just a little side nugget. That you're talking about the punters. That 65-yard punt that Hecker had. It was his 8th punt of the game at that point.
Yeah, and I think wasn't it like 27 of those yards came after the bounce and roll?
It bounced.
Yeah,
Sure did.
I'm just saying.
I know it all counts, but
it around midfield and then it went down to like the 28.
Yeah, no, I mean it was incredible.
It's just like a lot of punters, their net and their average goes down with each punt, and then you have Johnny Hecker in his 8th punt of the game just booms a 65-yarder. So, yeah, no big deal. And that was another thing that leads me to. Obviously, we're going to talk about how the books, and obviously we're going to talk about our bet. But speaking of one prop bet, Token, you loved it. The 2.5 players to throw a pass.
Yeah.
We talked about it. This is the kind of game with all of the different options and all of the different trickeration that's available in these offenses. All we had was Brady and Goff.
Yeah, I'm surprised the Rams weren't creative with that and keeping Belichick on his toes as well as
talking into the mic.
Yeah, I'm surprised with against Belichick that the Rams didn't go with like some kind of.
I'm surprised they didn't try to jolt their offense.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of spots where they were on the 40 or 45 of New England's punting the ball away. That's a prime spot, especially with your defense virtually holding New England for the first 3 quarters. Take a shot.
Yeah.
Even if it's not Hecker, even if it's, a Philly special or something, they just seem to be in a shell. And I didn't quite understand it because it wasn't what they did. The offense they were running sprint right option. They were having Goff. Again, some of this was the defensive line, but a lot of Goff was scrambling right and left, and that's just not what their offense was. Their offense was time-based. Receiver gets to this spot, Goff hits him in this time, and it just seemed like they just completely abandoned that. That's the takeaway I took. I mean, I was really nervous as a Pats fan about this defense being tired, the Pats defense being tired of chasing the 3 receivers all over the field, and it seemed like McVay was like, "Nah, don't worry about it, guys. I'll take care of that for you." And is that more of a product of, again, this is not, I want to take Bill Belichick out of this. Is this more of a product of a guy who got into a game and got into his head because he's a rookie, or he's not a rookie head coach, but he's a rookie in the Super Bowl? Or is this more of a product of just he couldn't just see what was in front of him and take what he was given?
I think it's more that the Rams had a game plan throughout the entire season that worked for them, and it worked very well for them, and in certain games they were able to put up a ton of points. And I think it was that they weren't willing to make adjustments. They were just more trying to play better. They were trying to get the wide receivers to maybe get an extra step to get beyond the cornerbacks, or to get the running backs that 1 extra yard beyond the line to try to stretch the play.
It seems like they abandoned their timing.
And
their offense, McVay said it, their offense is predicated on timing, and it seemed like they abandoned that.
Yeah, and to a certain point, to a certain extent they did, but at the same time, I don't think you can take Belichick out of the equation. I think because of Belichick's game plan, and I think because of what they did, or what the Patriots were able to do to keep L.A. on their toes, L.A. had to abandon parts of that timing offense because New England's defense was hitting them sooner than they expected. And I think that goes back to what you were just talking about with trying to get over 2.5 players to throw a pass, which I was on the same line, by the way, and I had Johnny Hecker by himself throwing a pass at like 6-1. A lot of that came not because the Rams weren't being creative, it's because on 4th down it was like 4th and 10, 4th and 12. These are the types of plays where you're not going to be able to effectively do a fake unless you're willing to really go, high risk, high reward. There was the one time where I think it was like 4th and 2 at about midfield, and the Rams decided to punt. But at that point, it was so obvious. Even Tony Romo was talking about it. It was like, this is the most obvious fake spot in the world. No, you have to punt it.
And I agree with that spot. I'm saying I thought there were a few times when they were in Patriots territory, especially when it's 3-3. Your defense is playing lights out despite all of the offensive woes. If you are unsuccessful, and I believe there one time, I definitely know they were at the 42. Yep. I mean, if your offense was if your fake punt was unsuccessful, your defense still has. I mean, that offense still has to go 58 yards, and they haven't proven that they could do it. The Patriots hadn't proven at that point that they could do it at all. I mean, the Patriots they had one play in the red zone. Both teams combined, one play in the red zone.
Yeah, this Patriots defense definitely showed up for this one, and allowing the Rams of 60 plays, only 33 for positive yards.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I saw this at 27 were for 0 or negative yards out of their 60 plays. And
with that situation, I'm not trying to take Belichick out of it, but what I'm saying is they ran, and I was listening to a lot of pregame because fucking CBS had 10 hours of it. They ran 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, 90% of their offensive plays. I'm looking here. They ran 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, and 1 tight end, 58% of their plays. They completely got away from their offense, the offense that brought them to the Super Bowl. It doesn't make any sense to me what McVay was thinking in that spot. And my only thing is I bring Belichick back in here is because I think Belichick subconsciously got into McVay's head, and he says, well, I'm going to outsmart the Sith Lord, and the Sith Lord basically said, by doing that, I've just outsmarted you without having to do a damn thing, by lifting a finger. So it's just amazing. I'm not discrediting Bill Belichick, but I think the greatness of Bill Belichick just alone, not the man, just kind of almost McVay had to outsmart himself, and it looked really terrible. I mean, a lot of times on the sideline, he's looking at his card. He looked lost. He looked lost to me. And that'll get better over time. Obviously, the more experience you get in this. I don't think McVay and the Rams are going anywhere as long as they're able to keep the core intact and be able to pay Goff and still put product around him that's quality. That's going to be the big question because Goff's going to be getting paid here soon. So what do we make of the Rams going forward? I mean, they were 13-3 this year. Whatever you want to feel about the NFC Championship game, they made it to the Super Bowl. Do you see sustainability in this spot? They're 7-1 to win the title next year, in a 4-way tie with the other 3 teams that made the championship games.
No, certainly, I don't see sustainability if we're talking about in the Goff position and the quarterback position. I don't. I've been a pretty strong advocate here of Goff being sort of I hate to use this word, but a rental quarterback in a sense. And I'm relatively convinced at this point that McVay and the rest of the staff, and probably many others in the organization, are not very confident that Jared Goff is the quarterback to take you all the way home, to the future. I think it's pretty obvious at this point that if you look at many of the great franchises throughout the last decade plus, that many of the franchises that have won Super Bowls and or been consistently in the playoffs have had a quarterback at the helm that is, an elite quarterback, well above average, and he has been there for multiple years. You could make an argument against that with Peyton Manning, probably with Denver, although he was a shell of himself certainly at that point when they won the Super Bowl. But certainly I think overall you see that the teams that get to the Super Bowl, that get to the championship games on a consistent basis are quarterbacks that are on teams and have been with the system and are there for years on end. And I think that's the situation that you need. The position is so vitally important. I'm being a dead horse here, and I apologize for doing so, but it is the most important position by far in major U.S. sports. And to me, I'm not convinced, and I think many others are not convinced that Jared Goff is the correct answer for a team that has a lot of talent and a lot of very good players at other positions. So I think they'll be certainly looking elsewhere in the sense of whether that comparing that to paying Jared Goff a long-term large salary.
And then on the other side, obviously, you have the champion Patriots. They were 11-5. They're also 7-1 next year to win. But now, after seeing this game and seeing what a defense can do, Tom Brady, yes, he's showing signs of mortality, but a guy who's 21-35, 262. Obviously, you'd want some touchdowns in there as well. But take out Super Bowl Brady, but the rest of the season, Brady, he wasn't the best quarterback, but I would say he was a good enough quarterback. You got Sony Michel, who's only going to get better, in my opinion. Gronk, maybe not. I'm leaning more towards not. You want to probably pick up another wide receiver, but here's a team that 11-5, 3-5 on the road, and going into the next season, they look strong again.
They look strong, but don't forget they're also losing the defensive coordinator. Well, never had the title of coordinator, but
linebackers coach.
Yeah, Flores is gone, so they're going to have to replace him and find somebody to lead that defense.
How about Bill Belichick?
Yeah,
he never wants to name anybody defensive coordinator; just name himself.
It will be Belichick, and he will try to get somebody. Actually, it may be Belichick. It may be Steve Belichick, his kid, who's currently safeties coach for the Patriots.
Shit would be great if, I don't know if you guys watch The Office, if, Belichick's assistant to the regional manager. It's remember that episode where Halpert's by 2 o'clock, I'm going to get Dwight Schrute to name himself assistant to the regional manager.
Yeah. It was his whole work day.
It was.
You
were right.
Done, yeah.
You're right. It was. It's just, to me, outsider's perspective, obviously we have the Chiefs and their high-powered offense. We have Los Angeles. Depending on, these one-and-done guys, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, and Ndamukong Suh, I'm going to guess 2 out of 3 of those guys are gone. But if somehow this offense stays intact and they have at least a pulse on defense, to me it just seems, again, the Saints, Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees actually probably looks a little worse than Tom Brady. It's hard to say it. It's not hard for me to say it, but just to say it from an outsider's perspective, it's hard to say it. But they're the best team again going into next season.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to agree with that statement for sure. All around, Patriots definitely one of the best teams in the league in the regular season, and in the postseason for sure.
Winning a game by any means necessary. We talked about one of the props we talked about was James White and his involvement in the game, and there were a lot of people who believed James White could have 10, 15 catches in this game. He had one. Obviously he had a few targets, but it's just you game plan for something, and Belichick knows it. It's like he's just reading you, and he's just going to go the other way. Rex Burkhead really has, other than the touchdown against the Chiefs, really no impact on most of this season. Obviously, he was injured for a lot of it, but 7 carries, 41, pacing the offense with 6 yards a carry when they needed it. That 26-yard run that you're talking about. All right, so it's just to me, you go into the next season. A lot of times, a team like this who wins, there's not necessarily the favorite, and again, they're tied with 4 teams being the favorite, but they just seem like very strong, especially with. We talk about it, the AFC East. What are they going to be next year? Sam Darnold's on year 2 with a new head coach who likes to. I don't know what the hell he was doing in his press conference, but he may like the booger sugar. You have Brian Flores, who is, like you said, probably going to Miami, and then you've got something maybe building in Buffalo. But again, the AFC East is what it is. So. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the bets. Anybody have any bets they'd like to share that were good? Anybody like to have bets they share that didn't go so well?
Actually, I had one that I was completely sure that was going to hit that didn't, and that was under on total sacks for the game. It was at 3.5, ended at 5, I think. 4 for the Patriots, 1 for LA. That was. I didn't think New England would give up any sacks. They gave up the 1, fine, but they had just gone against 2 of the best teams that were able to get pressure at the quarterback and didn't give up any up to that point. So I knew that. And then on the flip side, the Patriots, while they bring pressure, don't usually sack the quarterback a lot. They'll, put their hand in the face, they'll hit him after the throw, do this, that, and the other thing to try to disrupt him, but they don't typically get to the quarterback. I thought that was going to be good. I was a little bit happy that it wasn't.
That's a kudos to the secondary because, like I said, the offense of the Rams is predicated on timing, and Jared Goff held the ball far longer than I believe that Sean McVay expected him to or wanted him to.
Yeah, but
sometimes 7+ seconds.
Yeah, I hit on a few of my prop bets. I said that the first Brady throw would be incomplete. It was actually a pick, but that one hit. I said Goff would throw an interception before a touchdown pass. That one hit. I had that one of the ones that I found was will Cooks be or have a rushing attempt? I had no on that one, so that one came in good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was it was I had 19 total prop bets. I won on 5 of them, so it's not exactly the best prop day for me.
Yeah, that's not great. Token, I know after that first you talked about the pick, that Littleton pick, I'm pretty sure your butthole was puckering a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Especially going into the 4th when it's 3-3 and the 2 leaders for MVP look like Corey Littleton and anybody who maybe scores a touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, Edelman at that point was still looking pretty good. I was thinking at that point, like, say they get a rushing touchdown, Michelle was probably likely to get it too.
Yeah, I think at the end it was either Edelman or Michelle. There was really no debate on anybody else.
Yeah. But, I mean, if there's, like, a defensive pick 6 in that spot, maybe that could have sealed it for either of our players, so.
Yeah, I never really had to worry about Kyle Van Noy. He had, 4 tackles?
And 1 sack, yeah.
And he did have the sack, a key 3rd down sack, which was big in the grand scheme of things, but...
yeah, no good on the over 6.5 solo and assist tackles by him.
Nah, just 4. Well, you'll get them next time.
Yep.
So our tattoo prop bet will have to move into Super Bowl 54.
Yep.
But what about any personal bets you had that you'd like to share, whether it was good beats or bad beats or just good bets?
I thought one for sure, one that I always usually like is players that attempt to pass the 2.5. Yeah, I mean, the Rams didn't really have any key spots except for that 1 4th and like 2 or whatever from the 42, but our 4th and even 10. I thought it would still be a good shot around that area if their defense is playing that good to stop the Patriots. So.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this was the game to set up. I mean, you had, Cooks, Woods, and Reynolds, who all are wide receivers who've thrown a pass this year. You have, Johnny Hecker. You have Julian Edelman. There were just so many options, and for all of the games that it has happened, this would have been the one you would think
Would have it for sure.
would have had it for sure, but
Nope.
no. Yeah, I had what I thought would be a bad bet. Actually, started out what I thought would be a good bet, and then turned into a bad bet that actually turned into a winner, which was Marc-Andre Fleury's saves versus New England Patriots total points.
Aha.
So last night in the Panthers game against the Vegas Golden Knights, Marc-Andre had 22 saves, and I'm like, this is way no good. And obviously it turned out to be good, as the Patriots only scored 13 points. So, again, what I thought would be a good bet turned into what in my opinion, a bad bet. And then actually still, even if it's a bad bet, you can still win them.
Yep.
So, anything on your side? Anything good bets, bad beats?
Yeah, it was an interesting day for sure. Felt like I called the game pretty well.
I would say you did. Kudos to you before all the things. I think the way you mapped out the game, I mean, obviously you were on the Rams side, but other than that, the way you mapped out the game, I think you were pretty spot on with that. So.
Yeah, I know you're dead right about that. I did have the Rams to be the better team. I thought if it was, let's just say, if it was going to be a 13-3 final, I would have expected it to be the Rams for sure over instead of the Patriots being 13-3. So I'll readily admit I was wrong about that, but. Yeah, it was close. I made a couple of late prop bets right before the game started. I was hoping to get a lot of late money coming in on some larger totals, and that actually did kind of happen. So, had a couple of prop bets that didn't come in right towards the end. If we get a stop there with, if we get a New England first down at the end there, and they're able to run out the clock. There's 2 or 3 props that go a different way, but it was interesting in that sense. I didn't think there'd be a ton of yards per se in the game, and that was certainly true. There were really only about 700 or so yards combined. Just happened to be that of the receiving yards that there were, 3 out of the 4 players were the players that I had unders on. So it happens in that sense, but it was kind of how I thought it might have gone. I was not expecting certainly the quality of defense on third down as there was on both sides. Both sides of the ball, I thought both teams were really, really good on defense on third down. And as everyone has really said here, the Sean McVay play calling and or at least the offensive identity and idea in this game just didn't play out.
Just evaporated.
Exactly right.
It was mostly shocking to me that in a 3-3 game, it seemed like you abandoned everything that got you there.
Yeah, agreed
Again,
completely.
21-0, okay, maybe. You're down 30, okay, maybe. But when you're 3-3 going on the fourth and you abandon, what got you there. It's just, and maybe he didn't. Maybe, like I said, maybe kudos to Belichick and the defense. It just didn't work. It just seemed to me, looking at the, all of the different advanced metrics, to only line up in the offensive formation that you lined up in 90% of the time, to only line up in 68% of the time, or 58% of the time.
So that too, yeah. Amazing.
It doesn't make any sense. So it's the old adage of you do what got you there, and they didn't. And so, kudos, you nailed it on the head. It just didn't work out all together though. But I'm just going to say this: Gronk looked great.
He looked pretty good.
Nobody got nothing. I don't know. That last diving catch that set up Michelle's touchdown looked pretty good. I don't think a washed-up shell of himself would make that catch.
It was a good ball.
Yeah, he was double covered. Even had a safety?
Double covered, and the safety was tailing over. Yeah. So
Without that catch, the under gets there. By the way, just so we're all aware.
Oh, okay.
He had a really, really good game, and without that catch, the under still gets there.
That was that long of a pass?
Yes.
Yeah, it was
29-yard pass.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because the under was, 54?
And it finished at 61.
61.
That's how bad the money was. Yeah. But it was right, I guess. So, it wasn't bad. But, yeah.
So, all right, well, let's get into our prop bet. Our prop bet that doesn't include Tony Johnson, so he can sit back and listen to this
He
part.
can enjoy this one. So going into this week, just as a reminder.
I know you've been waiting on bated breath for this. Every time I switch the subject to something else, you're like, come on, let's talk about the prop bet. All right.
Come
Go ahead.
By the way, you saved yourself a bunch of money, and I'll get into that in a minute.
All right. I will say I gloated a little bit after the regular season too. So
Yeah, well, coming into this week, you were in third place, Aaron. You had 19 points.
third place out of 3.
Out of 3. Token, you were in the middle at 22. I had the lead at 25 points. Now, we had to pick both against the spread and against the total in this game. Each pick was worth 5 points on this one. And Aaron, knowing that I was going to pick New England somehow...
I did know you were going to pick New England. I wasn't sure where you were at on the total.
You
I should have thought you were going to be on the Rams spike.
Yeah, well, that would have completely fucked Aaron, but no, he knew, so he was going to fade me no matter what I was going to pick. So Aaron picking the Rams at plus 2.5 obviously did not come in for you.
Thanks.
But both Token and I took New England minus the 2.5. That worked out. I actually had a prop with New England minus 10.5. That didn't quite come in for me.
Gostkowski missed field goal in the early stages. Didn't work.
Yes, but so that was 5 points to each of us. Now, on this, the two of you were on a different side of the total than I was, and you needed me to miss in order for Token to win for the week. But unfortunately, the both of you took the over, and I knew it was under, and not to gloat on fake Token over there, but I knew the game, the way I looked at it, the way I read it was, if it's New England, it's the under. If it's the Rams, it's the over. I never expected, I could never see a spot where it would go LA in the under. But, that's just, hindsight. Now I can say that, but.
It's just Spike Stradamus.
Yeah. But that worked out.
That surgery's really helped clear all his brain out.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he's smart again.
Yeah, somehow after surgery, I'm a perfect 6 for 6 between championship weekend and the Super Bowl.
That is true. He's true. He's a fucking guru now.
I hear about this for 6 more months.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, those first 17 weeks when he finished. Did you finish dead last or did he finish dead last?
I finished last in the regular season, but this is what I was talking about with the end of the regular season bet, is because I said, do we want to end the bet here and do a separate bet for the playoffs, or do you want to continue this into the playoffs? And
I lobbied for a separate bet.
Yeah, you lobbied for separate bet, and that was the right call on your part because I ended up winning for the entire year. Combining our scores, for both the regular season and the playoffs. Token and Aaron, you both tied at 70 points. Aaron, you had 51 in the regular season, 19 for the playoffs.
Yeah, I really did putrid the last 2.
Yeah, Token.
The Super Bowl was not the way
So it literally came down to this last game.
It did come down to this last game. Token, you had 43 in the regular season, 27 in the playoffs. I had 39 in the regular season, 35 for the entirety of the playoffs for 74 points, winning for the full year. But because...
You didn't want
so not only did it come down to the last game, it came down to literally the over-under.
It did, yes. So that...
well, it's easy to catch points when you go on a streak in the playoffs where we give more points.
Yeah, well, that's true, but there are also fewer games.
I'd like to make a bold prediction. Patriots win by 10. That's worth 6.
There you go.
All right, cool. I win. I'm the winner.
Yeah, that. By the way, that still doesn't make you the winner for the playoffs.
No, but it would be if we did the whole season, it'd make me the winner for the season. Yeah, no, I like that. So in that case, it was $100 regular season bet.
Yes.
$50 playoff.
Yes.
So and then you won the fantasy league. So you owe me $30.
Yep.
And you owe me $100.
Yeah, and Token owes me 50. And then we have all of our changing of the Super Bowl matchups and winners and everything else.
Well, that just goes to the kitty. So when we order takeout, whenever that happens.
So we got to put money in for that. So now the question is, do we want to do the same style prop bet for the AAF, which starts this weekend?
Can you handicap that shit on?
I have no idea if places are even taking
lines
bets
out
on it
yet. But from what I asked stations actually, and I've heard that they're working on making lines.
I would like to start with a resounding no on handicapping the American.
All I know is they're unsure.
What does the AAF even stand for?
The Alliance of American Football, I think.
Oh, I thought it was like the Association of Awful Football.
That could also be
what it's going to turn into, yeah. I mean, is this not the UFL all over again?
It is. Well,
sounds like it, yeah.
It is, but it's a little bit different because the UFL... They wanted it to be a spring league because they didn't want to compete with the NFL, and then they decided to go in the fall, but on like Thursdays.
I remember I actually went to a few Florida Tuskers games.
I was at.
Oh, God, they were bad.
I was at every Locos game except for the championship game where they ended up winning. Actually, funniest moment I've ever seen in a football game was Jim Fossil, who was the coach of the Las Vegas Locos. There was a play, I forget exactly what the play was, but his team was on defense. He challenged, it was probably like a complete pass on the offense or something. They looked at the challenge and they said, all right, we're overturning the challenge, but we missed a flag on an illegal blitz, whatever the fuck that means. So they ended up calling it incomplete, but giving Las Vegas a penalty. And Fossil lost his mind. He threw his clipboard at the referee. Like, he was out of his goddamn head after that game. And I couldn't blame him because I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about.
Yeah, the only two Florida Tuskers games I went to were actually against the Las Vegas Locomotives when Dante Culpepper played for them.
Oh, there you go.
So I had to cover Culpepper. I had nothing to do with the Tuskers. I was covering Culpepper because of the UCF ties.
Ah, there we go. Yeah.
And I had to watch the games from the press box of the Citrus Bowl. And it was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, like, the reporters who actually covered it, it was like, I'll use another Office reference. Remember when they had the scandal and, like, the one guy who writes the obituaries and want ads showed up? It was like that. It was like they sent their like their most underpaid guy one guy was smoking a cigarette in the media box. It was just so bad. But it was so great that it was so bad. It folded. So my question is I don't know if they stay in the. So if they stay in the spring, now they got to compete with the XFL coming in a year.
That's true, and that's going to be the question: is whether or not the XFL is going to take ratings, or if the AAF is going to take the ratings. But it's essentially going to drive up the prices of the players that aren't good enough to be in the NFL that are going to fall to these leagues because now the AAF and the XFL have to compete against each other.
More,
yeah. Which is
that's always been my thing. I mean, obviously the USFL tried to obviously compete directly head on, and for a second there did. But why don't we care? We always say, "Well, I need more football," but we don't care about anything else.
Yeah, these leagues.
We don't care about arena leagues. We don't care about XFL. We don't care about UFL. We don't care about AAF or any other acronym that they're using to play.
So let's
CFL.
So this is what we're going to do. Just very quickly, because I want to see if any of you guys have paid attention at all to the AAF.
I can say the only thing I know is that Steve Spurrier is the head coach in the Orlando team.
Okay, so I will say the name of the city that has a team. You have to tell me the team name.
I don't even know the Orlando team that Spurrier coaches.
All right, first one is Arizona. Take a guess.
Cacti.
Close. No, it's not.
Cactuses.
Roadrunners.
You should give
us
the team name, and then we'll try to guess the city.
All right. Well, it's the Arizona Hotshots.
Totally. I was close. I was circling it.
So I'll go to the next one. I'm not going in alphabetical order now. How about Birmingham? Oh shit! That's you wanted.
Are
the
you
team
new
name.
here?
Yes, that's it.
Birmingham
so we'll
Barons.
Birmingham. Nope. It's not a bad.
Catch that reference?
When I
AA team, yes.
When I say what the team name is, it'll actually make sense to you.
Birmingham Soul Food.
No clue again.
Birmingham Iron.
Okay.
All right. How about this? How about the Stallions? Where do you think the Stallions are from?
Idaho.
I was gonna say Idaho.
No clue.
No, I'm gonna say the Stallions are from Sioux Falls.
Salt Lake.
Salt Lake. I knew it started with an S.
How about the Express?
Is that the Dennis Erickson team?
Express?
Who fucking knows?
You said Express?
Express, yeah.
Well, you seem like you know about these things, so that's why I'm asking.
I literally brought up a list of team names, and I'm just reading off of it.
I know Erickson's coaching a team. I thought it was in the Northwest because he's from the Northwest. That was my only guess. Go on.
I'm cheating. I'm cheating now.
Yeah, you totally are. All right, the Express.
No, I still don't know.
I said Denver.
Memphis, yeah.
How about Legends?
Which, ironically, this was the name of that city's lingerie football league team name.
Was it really?
Philly?
Yes. Well, it was somewhere. It was Northeast. I remember that I watched them in the lingerie game.
No.
All right, I wouldn't have guessed somewhere.
I've
like
taken
Philly,
it off.
New York or something.
Atlanta.
The Atlanta Legends.
Yeah. How about the Apollos?
Detroit?
Apollo. Oh wait,
Detroit.
No,
I thought of
Apollo.
the Apollo,
Houston.
the theater.
Nope.
That's all I thought of.
Houston's a good guess though, but no.
I was thinking somewhere.
Then
in
it's the
Texas,
Orlando
I
team,
was
isn't
thinking-
it?
The
It's
Apollo
Orlando.
Theater.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Orlando. How about the
I was
Fleet?
thinking Apollo, like Apollo 13 with the Houston
no,
Space
I
Shuttle.
was thinking the Apollo
The who?
Theater, the original
what?
Apollo.
The Fleet.
The
Fleet?
Fleet.
This will be
Diego.
super. Yep, San Diego. I was gonna say. This is gonna be super obvious as soon as I
See,
say
that's
it.
another question that arises. Why do you have a league that is upstart that their teams are so far away from each other? Travel costs alone are going to bankrupt this league.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And then the last one is the Commanders.
Chicago.
Washington D.C.
Nope.
Austin, Texas.
Close. San Antonio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the 8 teams in the newly formed AAF.
They couldn't be further from each other.
Yeah, and
Which
I
team does Dennis Erickson coach? I know he coaches the team.
fucking know.
All right.
What do you think it was?
I thought it was Seattle. I know he's north. He's got to be northwest. He's from that area.
So Salt Lake is probably the closest then.
All right, Salt Lake. I'm going with Salt Lake.
Let's.
I honestly don't know. I know he's a coach. I saw
Dennis
the look.
Erickson, Salt Lake Stallions. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
God, he's 71
Win
now.
something.
What a goober.
It's actually kind of a cool logo for Salt Lake. I'm not
Definitely
gonna lie.
Uber. I
Is
agree
it?
with that.
Nice.
It does look cool.
Gonna check out Arizona here. if the Arizona logo is cool, I'm gonna buy like a hoodie or something. All
We're
right.
resizing these hoodies at this juncture.
Yeah, well,
we
that's
haven't
the
gotten
thing.
into that point yet.
I know.
I'm
I
very
gotta figure
curious
out.
about all of this. I know I asked this question on one of the last podcasts, but I'm very curious about how the jerseys and hoodies and everything is going to go forward here.
So I
kinda like this.
Yeah, I
I'm a weird
haven't
guy.
haven't actually bought any new clothes, which is a problem.
Right?
Because I'm at a point where not only do none of my pants fit, but I don't have a belt that fits anymore. either.
You should get one of the
Sure.
ones that is like a seatbelt.
The
Yeah,
mission
I'm gonna-
belt.
Oh yeah,
There you go. Yes.
Oh, this is great.
that's not a bad idea actually.
Yeah.
So, Coach Mike Singletary of the Memphis Express has said that there is a quarterback battle brewing between Kaepernick, Zach Mettenberger, and Christian Hackenberg.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Wow.
that's no good.
Oh.
Sad. Sad time.
And then the starting quarterback has been named for the Arizona Hotshots. It is Oklahoma/Texas A&M great Trevor Knight.
Ah,
What is it
Okay.
about what is it about Texas A&M guys that transferred to Oklahoma?
I don't know.
Kyler Murray too.
I think my favorite logo right now is the San Diego Fleet, so I'm going to buy one of their hoodies.
Okay.
I'm jumping on the Fleet bandwagon.
Fleet.
What does it look like? A ship?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, here's a great one.
All right.
So the Orlando Apollos have brought in Garrett Gilbert to play quarterback.
I don't even know who the fuck
Texas.
that is.
He was Mr. Football in Texas. He played for Texas. He also
Uh-oh.
started the regular season finale in Week 17 for the Carolina Panthers.
I might have gotten that, by the way. Yeah. He did just.
Oh my God!
It's like Josh Johnson for the Redskins.
And I don't recognize.
You made
him
up that name.
I had him against New Orleans in Week 17. That's the only reason I would have known.
That's unbelievable.
Money line.
Oh, do you know who the
Done.
number 1 overall pick in the American? What is this fucking thing called?
The
AAFL.
Alliance of American
I
Football.
saw the draft, but I don't remember who was picked where. I honestly don't remember.
I have no
I mean,
idea.
The
I saw
number
them
1
both
pick
there.
in the Alliance. What is it? Alliance.
Alliance for American Football.
Alliance for American Football was Josh Johnson.
Oh, wow.
But he signed with the Washington Redskins a week later due to season-ending injuries to Alex Smith, Colt McCoy, and Mark Sanchez sucking.
That will happen.
So Johnson is under contract with the Fleet. However, if his NFL duties do not allow him to, he will remain with the Redskins. If the Redskins should release him, he has the option to
$70 for a
jump on.
fucking hoodie? Sorry, I'm just
That's more than the ticket prices.
fucking dollar. Are you kidding me?
That's very
Oh,
odd.
find me some ticket prices for the Alliance of American Football.
Yeah.
Do they have
That's
ticket prices?
insane.
I go to one in San Diego.
Where does
I
it-
don't know about that. Actually, and that's the thing. The kids hoodie looks better than the fucking adult
We
one.
should do that. We should make a weekend of the Alliance for American Football game, and then go play TPC Scottsdale or something.
I'd be down.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, for
I know
playing
you
golf
suck
in
at golf.
a
You can
place
sit. In
that-
the,
I've
you
never
can
actually-
sit in the cart.
I've never golfed before, but I'll fucking go. I don't care. That sounds fun.
We should play like a triple deke style of game, or a triple post like in hockey. Like how many?
Oh,
you have to
yeah.
hit the cactus on the right. You have to hit the cactus on the left. You have to hit the cactus that's sitting behind the green.
Oh, okay. Actually, they do have game Games
Ticket
listed
prices?
here.
Okay, let's
So
hear
let's
it.
see. They're
Keep them
playing.
hoodies, I'm sure.
They're playing at Sun Devil Stadium. So
$18.
okay.
do you want the? How about this will be the first game at Sun Devil Stadium? is
Cheapest ticket.
Sunday, February 10th at 5 p.m.
Oh, that's soon. Next Sunday.
Let's see.
Cheapest ticket.
Cheapest ticket.
$18.
You're gonna say 30.
30,
No.
Fake?
It was 15.
15.
Fake.
Closest without going over, Aaron. $20 for a ticket right now. Section 39, row 4, which I don't know where that is.
Can honestly say I've spent more on less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a small stadium. You'll get a good seat there at Sun Devil Stadium. It's only 2 levels, so yeah, you'll be fine. For sure.
Oh, the most expensive tickets you can buy.
oh wait, I'm gonna guess season tickets are $129 for the whole season. So I'm gonna say the most expensive ticket you can buy is
Expensive, so we're talking center field front row. Or
center
midfield,
midfield. I'm
50
gonna
yard line.
say $65.
Token? Fake?
99.
115.
Oof. Well, the two of you went over, which I think, if by Price is Right rules, default makes Aaron the winner. It's $90.
I was gonna say 80.
$90.
That is a ripoff. I'd pay $20 to go sit in the bleeders.
Oh, so would I, because you know the stadium's not going to fill up. So
you can move down a little.
Yeah,
bit.
you buy like fucking corner tickets, and then 5 minutes into the first quarter, you move to the.
But see, that was one of my
50-yard line.
favorite. Like when I lived in Tampa, the Rays. Well, I mean, they always suck, but when they really sucked, the best part was going to sit up in the right field bleachers in the last row, and you had like 150 seats to yourself.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can like picnic in the top of the stadium. You're right. There's nobody. All right, over under a year and a half before it folds.
Ooh.
1 year, one season, and then do they play a second season?
I mean, the UFL managed 3.
Yeah.
Actually,
I
3.5.
will say over, but I don't think they make it past 2.
Yeah, Arena's still going, I think, somehow.
Arena is,
although
but the XFL made it, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't make it very
3
long.
weeks. You ever watch that 30 for 30, by the way? That was great.
About which one?
The XFL.
The XFL, no.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to watch it. I mean,
I saw
what
it.
their plan was and what
Cool plan.
and the technology and all the innovation they brought.
It was a great idea.
If they didn't fuck up the 1 week, they actually may still be running. It's crazy to think.
It was actually a great idea by Vince McMahon, and this next one maybe not so much. But yes, the first one I agree. I saw it, and I actually studied a little bit before it came out. I agree, but yes, I will take the over because I think they are pretty well.
Do you think sports books are
financially.
salivating at the chance to handicap these games?
They haven't done it yet. That's all I know. I don't know about salivating.
Yeah.
I asked the head of stations at Santa Fe, and he said we have not come up with lines yet, and it's unknown.
Yeah, I that's the
don't know.
problem. I don't know how you would handicap because I don't think they're running preseason, are they? I think they're just diving right into this shit.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying
Yeah.
just like again, it's just you throw something out there with the safe enough take for your safe enough what's the word I'm looking for, cushion for yourself, and there's degenerates all around. I mean, I personally, if I've got nothing to bet, I'd rather bet AAF football
Yes.
than horse racing.
Really? Oh, no,
I don't know the first dick about horse racing.
I'd take horse
It
racing.
didn't make any sense. I don't know the first lick about horse racing. I don't know the first dick about horse racing.
Gross.
Uh,
Oh, man. So, I don't know. AAF
They'll
football.
have some lines out, I'm guessing, by the end of the week, I'm sure.
What do you make those spreads?
They'll study. I mean, they'll study.
I have no
Three at
idea.
home.
Be interesting. I'm curious. I'm going to put that on a poll. Do you think sportsbooks are going to put AAF lines out?
Eventually, yes. I don't think maybe in the beginning all books
I
are.
think week 2.
I would say
How's this season supposed to work?
They're
When is
attempting
it?
at stations right now. It's all I can say. That's the
Yeah.
only thing I know.
So
Whether
let's
they do it or not, who
I
knows?
wouldn't be surprised
Sure.
if some have it out by week 1, but I would say 3 weeks into the season.
I'm going to say
Probably have
somebody's
it.
got a game out.
I'm looking at the schedule right now, and it looks like each team plays 9 or 10 games. Yeah, 10 games.
Games.
Wow.
So
Probably play your
For
division
18,
twice, and then you play the other teams once.
yeah, so we're looking at by mid-April this will be into, I assume, playoffs. I guess they would do something like that. I don't actually know.
It's a battle royale for the championship. Or maybe that's the XFL. Never mind.
So that'd be fun.
Yeah. All right, well, let's put a bow on the NFL season, as we just talked about all of the spring football. Any final thoughts on the season that was?
Bet the under on the Chiefs win total for next year. That's the pro tip. We've seen it too many times before where a quarterback that looks exactly like Patrick Mahomes comes into the league, has a gangbusty year, and by year 2, playing a number 1 schedule, defenses have figured him out, and they regress back to the
I
mean.
don't think they can improve their defense, though. I mean, that's
If they can improve their defense, but...
D Ford can line up on the side.
Well, what do you think the total is? 10
Well,
and a half?
that's going to be the question, is what is the total?
I think it's going to open up at 10.5. What were they? Well, they're only 11-5 this year.
Yeah,
they were
so
about 10 or they were like 10.
No, they were
last
12 and 4. I thought.
they were 12-4 this
Are
year.
they 12-4?
Yeah.
That's right. They were 12-4.
Yeah.
I'd
they
say
were-
10.5 is a good line.
Yeah.
And
I
10
got
and a half, and bet the under.
9.5 with the under a slight favorite, but I bet that very early. And I had the over as a only,
But there was a
Slight
lot
dog.
of question marks surrounding what Patrick Mahomes would be,
and they were 9.5. So
and they were 9.5. And now we know what Patrick Mahomes can be, even if he does have a terrible defense.
exactly.
So I'm saying 10.5 is the floor.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
I don't know, but I mean that defense is old and sort of decrepit, and they have a new coordinator, and I feel like there's a lot that could be done. So a lot of unknown. I'm not saying
imagine their
necessarily-
draft is going to be defensive minded.
Yeah, love or dislike
That
the
and
10
maybe
and a half.
some pieces on the offensive line as well.
Yeah.
Their offensive line's okay. Actually, their whole offense is okay. But that'd be interesting. We'll have to see what it is. And then obviously none of our futures bets that we made before the season came in. I think mine went the farthest with the Cowboys. So we'll have to.
with the Super Bowl winners,
With
yeah.
the Super Bowl
Do that
winners.
again.
Yeah,
for
mine,
the Super Bowl.
mine was over by like week 8.
You had the Raiders, right?
Yeah.
I think yours was over by the Khalil Mack trade.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You had the Bills, which
I had the Bills.
We probably ruled that out in week 1, even though they got better.
And
And my producer had the Lions, which we ruled that one over by about.
Second game of preseason.
yeah.
No, because when they beat the Patriots, everybody loved them.
Yeah, that's true.
And then my wife had the Giants.
And then I had the Cowboys, who made the divisional round.
Yeah.
But that is not winning the Super Bowl, so that got us $0. So, anyways, all right. Well, that puts a bow on the 2018 NFL season. Obviously, there are other sports to talk about, so we're definitely going to be talking about those. So stick around to all of our podcasts, which you can catch on VegasSquares.com. You can also obviously catch us on 12 Ounce Sports Radio, which I never even mentioned them in the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, you
so
didn't.
That's
Or
okay.
any of our sponsors.
That's okay. The check will be a little lighter this week.
All right.
And obviously, I want to thank all of the other sponsors: Chai Poker, obviously Eric on the Web Productions, and Vegas Puckline Apparel. So for Tony, for Spike, and for the producer over there on her phone, I am Aaron. We'll catch you on the next podcast.